My name is Hardman. I'm from Marietta, Georgia, and I'm here representing the Kingdom Dreams Initiative. We help churches activate and unleash the full mission and discipleship potential of their churches. I've been a pastor for about 25 years, and in that time, I've pastored both at one of the largest churches in the country, and I've also pastored a church that was doing micro churches before we even had language for micro churches. And so I've pastored in lots of different contexts, and over the last 10 years, I've been a coach and a consultant for churches and pastors. I've helped 3DM and Gravity Leadership build their training mechanisms and coaching mechanisms, despite all of that, and when I look back in ministry, I still remember a day in ministry where everything went perfect and I still wanted to quit. I'll never forget, it was a Sunday morning, and I don't know if you've ever had that unicorn service where you feel like everything just works. Like when you're having a debrief about the service, you're saying like, I don't know, everything was perfect. Like we did it right. And it was one of those Sundays. We had a guest worship leader that was there, and everybody was hyped and excited to listen to the guest worship leader. The guy that was preaching that week just brought the word in an incredible way. All the media pieces were perfect and fit together. Like even the person that did announcements didn't screw it up. Like there were some baptisms at the end. Everything was perfect. And I remember I walked to the back of our church. We had this kind of giant atrium where everybody would exit out the back of the church. And I was kind of doing the shaking hands and kissing babies thing, at the back door that pastors do. And I just watched thousands and thousands of people walk past me. And at the time, I was reading D.L. Moody's biography. And in Moody's biography, he says this phrase. He said, "The world has yet to know and understand what God can do through one man who is fully consecrated unto him, and let me be that man." And I stood at the back door and watched thousands and thousands of people leave after we had just done we couldn't have done better than what we had just done. We couldn't have produced a better service. We couldn't have put together a better message. It was like, that's the best I got. And I sat there and I thought, how much latent mission and discipleship potential is walking out this door that we're not stewarding well for the kingdom? Like, what could God do with 1,000 of these people who were fully consecrated to Him, who were activated, mobilized, and unleashed into the community? What could He do with 100 of them who were fully excited and stepping into their kingdom calling and becoming kingdom ambassadors and missionaries in their community and loving their schools and loving their neighborhoods and loving their neighbors? What could God do with 10 of them? Out of the tens of thousands of people that showed up that day, what could God do with 10 of them that were fully consecrated unto Him? I think it's possible that over the last 20 years, we've had language to talk about discipleship and mission, but we failed to give our people an actual process to move from being a disciple to a dreamer to a doer. And we've allowed ourselves to just kind of maintain this consumer mentality. And so I think there's a lot of pastors who are standing at the back door asking the same question that I was that day. Is what I really built the thing that is making a difference? Is the thing that I've actually created actually making a difference in the world? Or am I just creating more consumers where I have to top what I did last week, next week? In a recent survey, according to Barna, 90% of pastors say that they're overworked, 55 to 75 hours a week. 90% say they're inadequately prepared for the task that they have in front of them. 80% say that their family is actually worse because of the ministry that they're a part of. 90%, think about that, 90% of us in this room will quit before retirement. 90%. And 70% of pastors right now say they're fighting depression. It's been a hard year for pastors, guys. It's been a long, hard year for pastors. And my heart breaks for the local pastor who's experiencing the pain and the hurt of all of this. I started counting up the leaders that I've coached and consulted with over the last 10 years that have left the ministry in this year. And there's 19 of them. 19 leaders who I love, who are committed to the church, who cared about it, who are out of the church and out of church ministry right now. And we've believed the lie that we have to be like the perfect pastor who puts everything together. We have to be the perfect shepherd who cares for everybody's heart and visits everybody's grandma. We have to be the perfect CEO leader who always knows what the next vision is and the next step is. We have to be the perfect communicator who comes up with a great word week after week after week. And we have to do do all of these things while we're stuck in this endless loop of creating a Sunday that's better than last Sunday over and over and over again. And I think most pastors are standing at the back door of their church asking the question, is what we're doing really making disciples? And we at Kingdom Dreams Initiative believe that every pastor needs a community to belong to and a dream to live for. We think that what we need is another trip to the beach. We think that what we need is another Sabbath. We think we need some more time off, but what we actually need is a dream to live for. We need to get our heart back. And so we want to mobilize people into the mission field over and over again. I think language matters. I think language creates culture. I think words actually create worlds. And so the metaphors that we've used for the church has been the church is a battleship going into battle. The church is a hospital. The church is a rescue team. The church is a family to belong to. But what if we reimagined the metaphor and the language that we use to the church? And what if we started saying the church is actually a dream factory? And what if instead of standing in front of our churches every single week and saying, I have a dream, and it's a beautiful dream, and we're going to do 1 billion campuses, and we're going to take over the world, and we're going to have more butts in the seat and more buildings and all of these different things, and here's 600 ways that you can sign up for my dream. You can serve in the parking lot, you can help with the kids, you can greet at the door, you can do all of these different things. But what if we flipped the script on that and said, no, you have a dream. Every person in the audience, every person in front of me, every person within the sound of my voice, you actually have a kingdom calling that's been given to you. Ephesians says you have a good work that has been prepared for you in advance. And that good work is not just like a good deed, like helping somebody cross the street. It's actually translated as an occupation. You have a kingdom calling. You have an occupation. And what if the church became the unleashers of the dreams of our everyday people? What if the church decided we're actually going to give language to this? And so we train pastors and entrepreneurs to launch disciples who moved from dreamers to doers. And we do that through our 4-step process. It's called our launch sequence. I'm late on the slides. Here's how it works. We do a discovery process where we excavate the dream that's in the heart of every believer in your church. We want to help them discover what's their kingdom calling, what's their kingdom passion, what's the thing that they're called to do. And we do that as we excavate that dream that's in their heart. Then we design. We actually do design sprints, and we use tactics and techniques that are from the business world. The business world knows how to move ideas to launch. Right? Mission of like think tanks, incubators, all of these things know how to move something into launch, but the church has failed to provide opportunities for those kinds of things to happen. So we give a design process where we do design sprints. We train people in coming up with a foundation and initiating a plan. We do development where we iterate on that plan and we test it and we beta it and we come up, what's the minimum viable product and what does it look like for you to step into this? And then we have a deployment plan, which is actually about activation and getting outside of the walls of the church. And what you get on this is you get discipleship that's not happening in a classroom, but it's actually happening on the road. What you get is you get homegrown missionaries in your church that are being developed and sent into your community, into their place of focus and stepping into their community and changing the world. You get a new model for missions funding. Like our model for missions funding is not reactive, and we're not just reacting to somebody sent me a letter, or this guy seems like he's got a good resume, or this is so-and-so's aunt. Like we're actually creating homegrown missionaries and investing our dollars in people in our church and in ideas in our church. It also gives pastors a way to connect to their entrepreneurs and business leaders in their church, which we have traditionally been very poor at doing. And lastly, it's super fun. Like this is amazingly fun. We're actually creating a process where pastors take an idea into the process and walk beside entrepreneurs to launch kingdom endeavors in their community. And so our plan is to launch 2 or 3 cohorts a year. We just want 10 leaders in those cohorts. And imagine those 10 leaders create 10 kingdom dreams in their church over and over and over again. And they actually create a dream factory in their own church that produces 10 kingdom dreams a year. So they create the same kind of incubators and think tanks in their churches that are multiplying and reproducing these ideas over and over again. What you get out of one cohort is you get 100 kingdom dreams that are launched in your community every year. And so we've been testing this out in the Grace family of churches. That's where I'm a pastor and where I lead. And in the Grace family of churches, we've demonstrated success by launching over 75 people through this process over the last 2 years. And what we've got on the other side, we just had one church that launched and did a commissioning service. And in that commissioning service, they launched an AAU basketball program They launched an adopt a teacher program at the local school. They launched a fine arts training center. They launched a coffee truck that's going into downtown Atlanta and feeding coffee and creating conversations. And they launched a bunch of more ideas. So last thing is here's my ask. Here's my ask. We are raising money right now so that we can create a scholarship fund for pastors. Our heart is for small church pastors. Our heart is for church planners, and we don't want costs to be prohibitive in this. And so we're raising funds right now to create a scholarship fund so that as many pastors that want to go through this can go through this, and cost is not the barrier. And the second thing that we need is we actually need help filling the first few cohorts. And so I don't want to talk to our white guy panel here up front, but to everybody else in the back, our middle-aged white guy panel, I love it. But to everybody in the back, here's what we need. We need some leaders. So if you're a denominational leader or a pastor and you've got a missions leader or a discipleship pastor or somebody, send them to kingdomdreamsinitiative.com and have them click the box and we'll call them.